Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I'm your host, Moon616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror Volume 8, Day 10, coming at you live and direct as usual. Alright, guys, yes, we are going to go from the 1970s, Spain 1970s yesterday, to the UK in 1939. This is a film starring Todd Slaughter, who actually is a really underrated horror antagonist, man, from this era of filmmaking, like the 30s and 40s and stuff. The guy always put in a great performance. I never hear his name ever mentioned because, of course, you know, he was doing films that, you know, the likes of like Boris Karloff and stuff like that back in the day and competing, but you know, he played Sweeney Todd actually in 36 in The Demon of the Barber of Fleet Street. He was in The Crimes of Stephen Hawke in 36, among films and stuff. Actually, Indicator released a box set of Todd Slaughter films a couple years back, which I actually need to pick up because I'm a big fan of Todd Slaughter. But anyways, come in 1939, he did a film called The Face at the Window. And this was really the selling point for me because it had Todd Slaughter in it. And I was like, you know what? It's a Todd Slaughter film I've never seen before. I need to check it out. Why not give it a show? I need a film for the 30s anyways, so why not do this? Because I wasn't going to revisit anything from 36 or whatever because we already covered that in the top 10 of 36, so I'm not doing that again. But getting into the quick little synopsis of this one, basically it follows our main character. It's he's a rich bank owner. Anyways, beginning of the film, his bank gets robbed. And essentially, like, he gets robbed so bad that he's basically going to lose his business and kind of go under and stuff. Apparently, they didn't have insurance in 1890. By the way, the movie takes place in 1890 in France. And so anyways, in steps Todd Slaughter's character. He's a rich, charismatic entrepreneur, businessman, stuff like that. And he says to him, he's like, well, you know, since you're going to go under, I got a proposition for you. And what I'll do is I'll give you a bunch of money and my gold and stuff to put in your bank to, you know, keep your business afloat and stuff like that. If you offer up your daughter so I can marry her. he's like, okay. But she's kind of in love with this other guy. And it turns out that she actually is in love with a bank teller at her father's bank and stuff like that. So that's a major problem for Todd Slaughter's character. And anyways, so meanwhile, all this kind of thing is going on. There's a killer out there. And so basically what happened when the bank got robbed, somebody got killed. But there's been a bunch of killings that we learned in the beginning of the film. And they were dubbed the Wolfman killings. Not technically like the Wolfman that you're thinking of, like which comes after this. Not the furry Wolfman, but just a serial killer or killer called the Wolfman. Anyways, so this person's going around killing off people and stuff like that. Anyways, it mostly revolves around Todd Slaughter's character and his mission to accomplish getting this girl to marry him and stuff like that. So, but anyways, that's the premise of the film. So my thoughts on this one. Now, right away, I mean, this whole movie just revolves around Todd Slaughter, man. He is so good. He's so nasty. He's so demonic, man. There's just something away his delivery of his dialogue and stuff. He's just awesome to listen to and watch and stuff. He's just great as an antagonist. In every film I've seen him in, I mean, I wouldn't say he's one note, but he plays these type of bad, dark roles so well that, you know, this is what you're watching the movie for is Todd Slaughter. I mean, it's a film from 1939, so, you know, it's typical filmmaking, right? It gets right into it. It only runs about 65 minutes. There's really never any downtime in it. It just kind of goes and goes and goes. The whole movie's played dead serious. Like, there's not an ounce of comedic relief in this film whatsoever. There's this really bizarre and actually quirky setup in the film too, involving like a mad scientist who's working on, you know, resurrecting dead things right after they died and stuff like that, which kind of plays into the third act of this film, which I thought was kind of crazy because you get introduced to this like crazy scientist earlier in the film and then you kind of forget about it, but then the third act happens, you're like, oh shit, totally. And it's just kind of one of those moments you're like, okay, well, that wasn't a bad setup, but it's super quirky, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, the whole movie is super dark. Like, it plays off more like a drama / horror film, but the whole tone of the film is super dark and super atmospheric, and it just feels like a horror film, even though you're not getting a lot of horror, even though there is killings and stuff that are happening, you're not really getting it, but it has that tone, it has that vibe, which I really like, and it's accentuated from like Todd Slaughter's performance into. He's so evil and so promising as that, you know, as that evil one. But Yeah, so, you know, it kind of plays out like that, and then the third act happens, and then it gets really dark, and then it gets horrorish and stuff like that. There's a couple different reveals in the end of the film. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then there's another reveal of like how the whole mystery gets solved, and I literally laughed out loud at this. I was like, no way, they are not gonna go there and attempt that and try to sell that off. And they did. It was actually really fucking funny and comical, but I gotta give him credit, man. I mean, it's just something that it was unintentionally funny, but you know, it's 1939. It's a period piece, even in 1939. Like I said, it's taking place in 1890 and stuff like that. So, but you know, all in all, the ending was pretty satisfying. It completely made sense and stuff like that. So, yeah, I give this one a solid 6.5 out of 10. There's not really a whole much more to say about it. It is from 1939, so, you know, and run 65 minutes. So, anyways, guys, battery is dying. That's going to conclude this review. I will see you guys tomorrow in day 11. And as usual,